to the Prophecy Club. Let me ask you a question. If you were to see the president's representative come out behind the little blue podium and say these three things, what would you suppose the situation might be? One, that the United States, as you have known it, has ceased to exist. Two, all property lines are dissolved. And three, that the U.S. dollar is worthless. In my opinion, I think that is part of the statement. That is the surrender statement. After the Russians have attacked us, nuclear weapons have landed all up and down the east and west coast, the sky filled with airplanes going all across America, dropping atomic bombs at will. Obama runs to the red phone, but the Russians don't answer. He can't stop the bombing. The next day, they accept our surrender, and I believe that's part of the surrender speech. Now, if you want all of the information, you got to get the DVD that I highly recommend called I Saw the Dollar Dead by Daniel Davis. Now, Daniel is a missionary for Costa Rica, and he had this three-part dream. He was shown the death of the U.S. dollar, the global impact, all property lines being dissolved. He was shown how the one world government rises and its following currency and Agenda 21. He was told that communism is our greatest political enemy. Recommend you get it. You can get it for $30, but right now you can get the DVD for a gift of $15. But how'd you like to have it for a gift of just $8? Well, it's a part of a package. 6 speakers, 11 DVDs is called the October Prophecy Conference. Valued at $330. Normally we ask $200 gift, but right now you can get all 11 DVDs for just $90. That's about $8 a DVD. And if you want just a single DVD or maybe 2 or 3 DVDs, if it's part of this package, for right now up until May 9th, you can get them for just $15. Now, it's got to be a part of this package. But if you get all 11 DVDs for $90, you also get free shipping. That's before May 9th. Now, here's the list of the DVDs. Shane Warren, The Storm, Judgment, Revival. Bill Federer, Change to Change, Islamic Conquest Past and Present, 32 Miracles in American History, Origins of the Great Awakening. Bree Keaton, Go Save the Pygmies and Translations to Heaven. Maurice Sklar, Revelations for the Midnight Hour. Michael Boldea, 9 Dreams and Visions, The Suffering or the Glory. And the one we're about to listen to today, Daniel Davies, I Saw the Dollar Dead.
You make no interest in the savings account. Someone told me the other day they had $100,000 and they got their annual statement and they made like $35 interest on $100,000 they had in the bank. Yet their food bill went up by 25% last year, so their $100,000 actually shrunk in value. So for the first time in history, if you buy a can of beans today for $1 and it goes up to $1.50 tomorrow, you made a 50% increase in your investment. Isn't that something? 50%. Go ask your bank downtown to do that for you. Can they promise you the same amount of interest as what the dollar is going to lose in value over the next year in food? So a lot of people are stocking food. We teach also how to make 30 to 50% the day you buy the food in our program. We teach people how to do that. You can go into wholesale business very easy and bless the people in your community and get into wholesale business with food. That can of beans might cost $1 retail, but if you're in a wholesale business, you pick it up for 75 cents or 70 cents a can, offer it cheap to your whole neighborhood, and you find yourself in business and you're saving money on the food you bought, and as it goes up in price, you're making money like crazy in the food business. And by the way, as times deteriorate and the dollar goes down, this is probably not the day to own a suntan salon. All right, maybe a food business is a good idea. Farming, that sounds great, but owning some of the nice things, maybe a jewelry store might not be the most profitable during the time when everyone's pawning their jewelry, rather than coming in to buy it new from you. So you have to think about these things as we look forward into the future, what happens when a currency dies. Hard assets in the Bible. Haggai 2 verse 8, the silver is mine and the gold is mine, says the Lord of hosts. So if you get a hold of any silver or gold, you got a hold of God's stuff here. This is God's economy. And I guarantee you this, that gold locks your value in. The boys out here in the world trading dollars will say, don't invest in gold. That's stupid. That's crazy. They'll tell you all the reasons. But they're coming from inside the dollar box. When you get outside the dollar box, you realize that dollar is going to lose value as it always has. Historically, it's gone down, down, down. It's got a little ways further to go before it disappears. And so, but has gold lost its value? Gold is still gold. And silver is still silver. A piece of farmland is still a piece of farmland. And you go out there and look at that farmland. Let's look at that ear of corn. That stalk has 2 ears of corn on it. And ask that stalk of corn how it feels about what Washington's doing. It could care less. It's doing what God called it to do. Genetically produces a couple ears of corn, 400 seeds of corn on an ear, and it's going to do it, give it some sunlight and some water, and it's going to do its thing. That's God's economy. It doesn't care how much corn is worth in dollars. It doesn't care how much corn you can get in a can. It's going to keep producing. So truly, God's economy is corn and wheat and anything seed producing. Even a business, if it's multiplying and producing, a business is a business. Well, how many dollars is it worth? Get out of that box. Stop talking about dollars, because it's a business that truly serves and truly multiplies and truly helps people is worth something. It's got value. And I remember as a child, my parents used to laugh because every time I'd open a present around the Christmas tree, I'd say, how much is that worth? Now, I always wanted to know. I've always wondered in dollars how much that, from as early as I can remember, always wondering how much that's worth. How much does that cost? How much is that? But it was all in dollars. Now it's been liberating to get outside of the dollar. How much is that worth? How much is that jacket that you've got there in silver? How much is that in gold? How much are those shoes in gold? So we've been trained away from God's economy for a reason, to be enslaved. You get into God's economy, you can't be enslaved. Okay, Genesis 6 through 14 through 16. Let's talk about building an ark here as we wrap this thing up, because I believe with all of my heart there are two historical biblical stories that you and I can place ourselves in right now, that historically these stories have cycled through human history, and we're in the cycle right now. The first story is Noah. God saw that the earth was corrupt. When something's corrupted, there's been an insertion of foreign materials that makes the good and perfect. You can't drink it. You can't use it. It's corrupt. And so God saw the entire earth was corrupt. He also saw that the giants and that the Nephilim, the sons of God, had intermarried with the daughters of men. They'd created Nephilim. Giants are in the land. All kinds of weird stuff. Mankind started messing with the DNA structure of God. And when you start messing with God's DNA, He comes on the scene to wipe things out, to set it straight and to reset the structure. I'm here to tell you right now, you can go into some different nations right now and you can order a designer baby. You want a baby with blue eyes? You want a baby with 3 parents? They can give you that baby. And they're messing with the genetic structure and playing like little gods now in all the great things they can create. They're now announcing they're creating pharmaceutical cattle who are creating woman's breast milk so that they can sell that. Cattle are now producing women's breast milk. Of course, we remember, was it Nessie the sheep that they had created? They cloned her, messing with the DNA strands. When that happens, the earth is corrupt, and you can look at what happened in that day with Noah. God said, I'm coming to town, Noah. I'm giving you time. I'm going to give you instructions. You're going to build a boat. And I'm sure Noah said, what's a boat? Because they didn't have any water then. They'd never needed a boat. And so God said, here's the dimensions, here's the height, here's everything you're going to need. This is exactly how to do it. Get busy. And son, don't be late. You don't want to be late to the party when God called you to build the boat. right, to a water party, right? And so we can look at that. This is a great example. There's also one more, and that was when the slaves in Egypt God was demanding that Pharaoh let my people go. And he sent Moses in to deal with Pharaoh, and God started nailing Pharaoh's economy. Nailing it, and Pharaoh got angrier by the moment, and finally Pharaoh said, okay, fine, you can go, just go. And Moses said, no, we're not going. Well, what do you mean? Well, the Lord had told Moses, when it's time to go, Pharaoh will drive you out. So if he just lets you go, it's not time. So Pharaoh finally says, okay, fine, you can go. And he says, no, we're not going yet. What do you mean? No, God's still got some more whacking to do on you. God's going to harden your heart and let you have it a couple more times. He's got more plans for you, so we're not leaving yet. And so finally at the end, we know Pharaoh said, get out now. God gave instructions to the women right before the death angel came and delivered the last death strike. And he told them, he said, have your women go to the women of Egypt and borrow of them gold, silver, and clothing. This is how you will plunder the Egyptians. You're going to get 400 years of back wages, vacation pay. It's all coming through the gold and the silver and the clothing. Now that word in the Hebrew, which says borrow from them, that word borrow means to demand. Look that up in Hebrew. It means to demand of the Egyptians, give us your gold. Hand it over. And of course these Egyptians are saying, would you get out of here? Take the gold. Just get out of here. Look, our roofs and our homes have 100-pound hailstone holes in them. All the cattle are dead. The crops are stripped. We've got no economy. The fish are dead in the Nile. We can't drink the water. The vacation industry is shot. It stinks down there. Get out. We need gold and silver. Sure, take the gold and silver. Would you just please leave? And so we know that this is how the Israelites plundered the Egyptians with gold and silver. Now, I'm not telling you today to buy gold and silver, but I'm telling you to look at the historical cycle, understand what God likes, find His economy, and get yourself into His economy, and get yourself into an ark. Let's look at this. Genesis 6, 14 through 16. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Room shalt thou make in the ark, and thou shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make in the ark, and a cubit shalt thou finish it above, and the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof. With lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. So the ark had 3 floors, 1 window, and 1 door. We don't have time to go into an 8-hour description of this for your personal retirement plan and all of that, but we have to understand this. God told Noah, you build this ark and build it this size. Why did God want it that size? Because God knew that God had a vision for Noah's future and the future of the world. That ark was going to have to carry 2 of each multiplying animals. It was going to have to carry all the food they needed to float for 150 days. And it was going to have to carry Noah and his family. It had to be big enough to carry the vision of the future. So I would tell you this, don't be afraid of the future. Find out from God what His future is for you, and then get your supplies ready so you've got a future when this whole thing falls apart. When the dollar dies, the believer should land on the other side of that dollar death with all the goods you need to bring a brand new world of prosperity and happiness and being able to sow and reap. You should have everything you need in your future. So you need to build this ark, build it with 3 levels, 1 window, 1 door, and make sure that you do a pattern with your finances, your family, your faith, your future. So I would take someone, and say my brother here, I would ask him if I was going to do the Build an Ark seminar, and I would say, brother, what's God called you to? What have you been doing with your life? And what do you think in the next 20 years you need to be doing? What do you envision yourself doing 20 years from now for the Lord? He may say, well, I'm a professional in this area, and I've always wanted to do this. Well, we better get you some goods and supplies in your ark so that when this whole thing melts down at the end of it, you still got those supplies. So you can keep doing what God's called you to do. So you're not sitting around going, Oh man, where's my next meal going to come from? And what do I do? The money's gone. And I guess I just got to go get in line with all the rest of the people that didn't make any plans. You don't have to go get in line if you make your plans today and get into God's economy. Now, this is good news. Did you know that Noah had to build the ark, but he didn't have to go get the animals? God said, if you'll be faithful to build the ark, I'll send the animals to you. Those animals represent a lot of things. Now, you and I don't have to go find a pair of giraffes, thank God. Right? But you do need to find your business plan. You need to find your investment plans. You need to find, what are you going to do in the future? If Jesus tarries, what will you be doing 20 or 30 years from now? Get your supplies together now so you can feed that plan and keep it alive, so when we land on the other side, God knows where we're going to land. Noah didn't know where he was going to land. Noah, thank God Noah didn't buy the house next to his ark. I'm going to buy this house. This is a great deal right now. There's a new world coming. You're going to float somewhere. You're never going to see that house again. So be careful what you invest in right now. A new world is coming. Well, how much will that house be? Well, that house might not even be there. Now, that's in a real world flood, but in our type of flood, that house might be there, but it might only be worth 10% of what it's worth right now. Well, how much will it be in dollars? Get out of the dollar box. We're not doing that anymore. We're not talking dollars anymore because the dollar is dead. We know that in advance. So if we'll live that in advance, then we can have a huge step ahead of many. If you build it, God did not require Noah to go get 2 of each of the animals by species. He required Noah to get the food for the animals. Get yourself prepared, and then God will bring you the farmlands. He will get involved. He'll bring you the miracles to fill the ark. That's why it's important to build your ark large enough. If you build your ark to look like Gilligan's Island's minnow, and God wants to give you a great big industrial business, that's not going to fit in that little boat, right? Build your ark big enough for the future that God has for you as a believer. I'm here to tell you, so many people don't have a clue what we're talking about tonight. Non-believers, they are building, buying, selling, marrying, giving in marriage. They're living in this world that's going to disappear. And a new world is coming with new money and new everything, new valuation. Would it be that someone had a little gold and silver in the ark to pull out, or some food, or something to trade, something to start your new business with when this all, when the new world order or new world comes. And I believe they're attempting a new world order, but I'm believing God that He's going to step in and deal with the new world order boys, just as He dealt with Pharaoh, just as He dealt with Babylon, just as He's always dealt with those old one world order boys trying to seize, control, and enslave the people. God always takes them out. Amen. So just realize that while it looks like they're big, bold, and ugly, and steaming, angry, and all that, God's not intimidated by them. Genesis 6, 19 through 21 goes on, and it says, 2 of every sort shall come to thee to keep them alive. You need to have your dream activated, and you need to keep it alive during this period. You need to dream out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years and make a plan for your children and your grandchildren. The Bible says a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. And so don't miss the mark. The word sinner means mark misser. You're shooting at the target, but you're missing it. Don't miss the mark during this time. Hit the target of God and let God deal with these enemies. And you get in God's protection. You get in God's favor. You get in God's Psalm 91. You get in the ark that He showed you to build. All right? Life after the dollar dies, in scene 2 of my dream, of course, we saw people bartering. There's a period of time, evidently, where you're not going to be able to pay for gas with dollars. Right now, there's places in the United States that will not take U.S. dollars. There's a European market, like a farmer's market down in New York. They won't take U.S. dollars down there. You got to trade over to euros right now, which God bless the euro, I guess, right? It's as much trouble as the dollar, but they're not taking dollars anymore. And these other nations, China, Russia, Japan, Saudi Arabia, they have all allied themselves together to not use the dollar any longer. China just stood up and said, if you all want to buy oil, you can buy with our yuan. We'll allow it to be your world reserve currency. So there's a financial war coming against the dollar, and these boys aren't using it anymore. So we have to understand who's using the dollar. Well, the Federal Reserve is. Every week they print some more out of thin air, and they buy our debt, which they printed for us, and then they buy it back in this little thing to keep it floating. And then we are, because it's the law that we use dollars for all trade. So between the Federal Reserve and us, we're the last man standing. I think I need to get off that boat before everyone wakes up and realizes they're the last man standing. I've always looked at the stock market and seen how high it went and then it fell. You know, I think, I wonder who the very last guy was that said, buy. And then, you know, I don't want to be that last guy on the dollar that buys it or that holds it right there before the big failure. In the scene 3, we know that communism is the greatest danger and the greatest enemy of America. But it's probably, there are communists in the country. Senator Allen West has declared publicly that there are 78 card-carrying communists in the House of Representatives right now. They revolted and said, you shouldn't say that, you can't say that. And he said, oh, I shouldn't say that. You're not communists, you've changed your name to progressives. But you're still communists, still hold the same principles, you're still taking this country down the same path. So the new buzzword for the communist is progressive. We wouldn't bring a communist in, but we would bring a progressive in because we don't understand that he or she is a communist. And when you hear the word Marxism, you should be running for the hills. Yet we use the word Marxist. Oh, that's a Marxist. He's a Marxist. What that means is he is willing to murder you for your agenda. Hundreds of millions of people died in the last century under the name communism because they were in the way of that control agenda. Hundreds of millions. Hitler looked like a Sunday school teacher compared to the spirit of communism in the last century. And so communism is the number one enemy. Keep your eyes on it and understand the macro vision is Agenda 21, which is communism on steroids. I'm going to tell you about my second dream. Anyone want to hear that? Yes. All right. The second dream I had was a little bit later in 2008. I am a diver. I'm an open water diver, which means I need to be able to see the sunshine above me in case I have a failure. I can get to the top and breathe. All right, so now that's one qualification, but I could become a cave diver, which heightens my chances of dying. Because if you get in a cave, you can't go up if you're in trouble. You have to go out, then up. And or if you're inside of a ship, a sunken ship, you have to get out before you can go up. And so there's a lot of trouble there. Well, I was diving deep in this dream. This dream was exactly like, it was with the same reality of the first dream when I entered into it in 2008. I'm diving. I have a full face mask on, so I'm hearing people communicate, and I can talk and communicate. And I am deep. I realize I'm down deep enough that it would take me a long time to get up. I'd have to stop and equalize, that I'm in danger here. This is a real dangerous deal. And I looked out, and just a few yards from me was Team Obama. President Obama was leading this team. He was also diving, and there was a whole team surrounding him. It looked like maybe agents and administrators and people who are going along with him. Now remember, when a president shows up in a dream, you're not dealing with the individual. You're dealing with the presidency. You're dealing with the administration. You're dealing with maybe the whole nation. You're at least dealing with those that are leading in a certain direction. And so Team Obama was there, and I was there with them. We went into a cave. This is a deep, dark cave, and I was scared. And there was something in me, an urgency that said, Daniel Daves, get out now. Get out of this cave now. Every fiber of my being was screaming, get out of here. There is something wrong here. But I just stood there, froze in this dream, And I saw the team. The team was all looking, and they were using their lights, and they were shining. And deep into this cave, there were 3 holes, big, round, dark holes. One of them had sediment in it, like a lot of movement, and it was so filled with sediment that if we were going to go in that hole, we were going to have to feel our way through. There was no seeing anything. The other 2 were real dark, but they seemed to be clear water, but it was dark. There was no light coming from the other side of that tunnel. And President Obama said, okay, let's go into this one. And he didn't choose the one filled with sediment, but he chose to go further into the cave, and they began to go into this hole. Everything in me, I just stayed there. I didn't go. But everything in me was saying, get out of the cave, get out of the cave. Now, get out of the cave. And all of a sudden, an earthquake hit. And you could just tell, it was just shaking everything. And huge boulders fell down and sealed the cave. And we all turned and realized, I had that sinking feeling. Can you imagine? We're not getting out of this alive.
Well, I'm going to interrupt right there, but I highly recommend you get this set of 11 DVDs. The place where you get the information from the Prophecy Club is not at our website or on our radio program. It is by getting our DVDs. So if you want our best information, I recommend you get this October Prophecy Conference, 6 speakers, 11 DVDs, valued at $300, once offered for $200. Now you can get it for a gift of just $90 or more. If you get it before May 9th, there's free shipping. Call 785-266-1112. That's 785-266-1112. Or go to prophecyclub.com. prophecyclub.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. You must get these 2 DVDs. Outside of the birth of Christ, I think this is the most important information since the flood. Prophet Ephraim Rodriguez was shown in a vision that a large meteor will hit near Puerto Rico and cause a 1,000-foot tsunami there, but it'll be 200 to 400 feet high and go 100 miles inland on the east coast of America. It will also split America from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico, and large chunks of California will fall into the ocean, killing millions of Americans. In a second DVD, I put the whole picture together, quoting 6 other people that also saw a large meteor hit Puerto Rico, 4 for the tsunami hitting the east coast of the United States, 6 the split of America in 2 pieces, 3 large chunks of California falling into the ocean, 3 also saw the reason for this is because America forces Israel to split her land. Get both DVDs valued at $60 for a gift of $30. It's good for the ministry, but you have to have this information. Call 785-266-1112 or go to prophecyclub.com. Get the meteor offer today. Get it today. As prophecy students, we know an emergency is heading our way, and the average person can go over 30 days without food, but no more than 3 days without clean water. In the event of an emergency, you must have clean water almost immediately. One of the primary causes of death in emergencies is not lack of food, but rather drinking contaminated water. You can run water from a mud puddle through a Berkey and drink it. You can have clean water when others are getting sick from drinking bug-infested water. Your filter must work without pressurized water or electricity, which is why the missionaries choose Berkey. You can get a Go Berkey for $139, but I recommend you get the Royal Berkey with 4 filters for $364. I personally use the Crown with 8 filters for all my daily water needs. A Royal Berkey looks like a large stainless steel coffee pot, 9 inches wide by 20 inches tall, with 4 black filters. It processes over a gallon an hour for a gift of $364. Call 785-266-1112. Ask for the Royal Berkey, 785-266-1112, or the Crown Berkey with 8 filters. Or see the entire line of Berkeys by going to prophecyclub.com.